Hello everyone and welcome to the fifth tutorial in a series of video tutorials for Java programming. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and click on the bell icon as well to stay up to date with every tutorial I upload on my channel. So in the last tutorial we studied about the different kinds of loops, and we also studied about the lexical terms, like we studied about separators, identifiers, etc. So now in this tutorial we are going to study about the Java keywords. So now what exactly is keyword? Keyword is a reserved word in the Java language. Actually in any kind of language, whether it is C or C++, keywords are special reserved keywords. Okay, so in Java language there are about 50 keywords. So now one thing which we need to keep in mind is that in Java language, if there are 50 keywords, that doesn't mean that in C or C++ also there are going to be only 50 keywords. The number of keywords can be 40, it can be 60, it can be 70 also. So it all varies depending upon the particular language. So but in Java we have 50 keywords. And another thing which we need to keep in mind is that the keyword, it cannot be used as a name of a variable or a method or a class. So we cannot use these keywords as identifiers. So now next thing is, let us go to the next slide. So these are the different kinds of keywords. So in this tutorial mainly I will be discussing in detail about these keywords, like where we are going to use them and what is the basic usage of these keywords. So first keyword we are going to discuss is going to be abstract. So this keyword abstract, it is always used to create abstract classes, abstract methods, etc. So later on when I show you through the IDE, so I will be creating abstract classes, I will be creating abstract method, and always keep in mind in one thing, that only abstract classes can have abstract methods. So it is used to create abstract class or abstract method. That is the keyword abstract is used for. So this abstract is used in front of class keyword, and it will create the method return type. So and it will create the particular abstract class or abstract method. Boolean, it is going to be creating a boolean type of variable or boolean type of method. It can be used either in front of a method, or it can be used in front of a class, not a class. I am not talking about class. It can be used in front of a variable, or it can be used in front of a method. Now break statement, it is used in like last 2 tutorials ago I talked about switch case block. Inside that we use the break statement, if you remember, and we also use this break statement in order to terminate the loop earlier. Okay, so that I will be explaining in detail later on. Byte, it is a kind of data type, just like int, char and all. So that we'll be discussing later in data types. Byte is a data type which is so this byte keyword, it is basically used to declare a byte data type. Now case, again we have already seen where the case was used. It was used in switch case, right? So now catch. So now where is this catch used? We have not seen it till now. Mostly this catch, it is used together with try statement. So whenever there are exceptions, there are different kinds of exceptions in Java. So whenever we are going to handle a particular exception, we are going to use this try catch block. So I will be discussing about that later on. So now char keyword, it is used again. Char also, character is also a data type. So that this char keyword, it is used to declare a character. So class, we have already seen where class is used. It is used to class keyword, it is used to declare a class, then after that class name. That was the syntax. Then const, it is a keyword in Java, but it is not in use. If you try to use this in IDE, actually it will give an error. So I will show you with the help of IDE later on. Now continue statement, it is just the opposite of the break statement. Like in break, what happens, if you write break, it comes out of the for loop or while loop immediately, but otherwise if you put to continue, what is going to happen is that it is it will directly jump to the next iteration. It is not going to execute the statements which are written below continue. I will be explaining this in more detail when I use the id. So default, this keyword is used in many places. Like for example, later on when we study the concept of interfaces, default can be used for providing the default like by default interface this method definition. So that will be discussing later on. Do, we have already discussed, we are using do while loops. Okay, so this keyword is used for creating do while loop. Double, it is again, double is also a keyword which is used for creating a double data type. Double is also data type, so that we'll be discussing later on. Else, we have already discussed about where else is used. Okay, so if statement, if inside the if statement if that particular condition is true, then it will get executed, otherwise we write else. Okay, and always you need to remember one thing: else statement cannot exist without a if statement, so that thing you need to keep in mind. Then enum is used to create enum, as the name itself suggests. It is just like class, just like interface. Like you, for example, if you write class, then after that class name, then interface, just like that interface name. Enum is also like that. We will look into the enum into more detail later on. Okay, just like class, just like interface, enum is also a type of like it is a type of class in Java, but it is a type of kind of an abstract class. So it has different properties compared to class and interface. We'll be discussing it much later. Now extends keyword, it is mostly used only when one class is going to inherit another properties of another class. Again, there is a lot of rules here, like one class can extend another class, but one class it cannot implement another class. Okay, so we can use this only when keyword only when one class is extending another class, or one interface is extending another interface. So that thing we'll be discussing later in IDE. I will be explaining with the help of the IDE. Final keyword, final keyword means it is mainly used either in front of method or in front of variable. If you use it in front of a method, it simply means that that method cannot be overridden. Now the concept of overriding, that also we are explaining later on. Then after, because it is a part of inheritance actually. And final variable means the value of the variable cannot be changed. Now then after that we have the variable finally. So finally, that is a keyword which is used to declare a finally block. So after try catch, what happens like in exceptions and all, what happens, we write try catch, then after that we can write finally after catch block, or we can simply write try, then after that we can write finally also. So these are certain options we have. So float, it is a keyword which is used to declare a floating point variable. So float is a data type, so that we'll be discussing in the next chapter. Then for, that is used to create the for loop that we have already seen. Then go to also it is a keyword, but it is not used in Java actually, so we can simply ignore this keyword for now. Then if statement, we have already discussed where we are using the if statement. If statement, it is used to create the, obviously if keyword is used to create the if statement obviously. Then implements, now where is this implement going to come? Like earlier in the last slide I talked about the extend keyword. So extend keyword means a class is extending another class, so that is where we are going to use extend keyword. But if I am talking about implements keyword, then one class, it is going to implement another interface. Okay, so here also we have certain rules that only a class can implement an interface. An interface cannot implement another interface, that is not allowed. An interface can only extend another interface, but a class can implement another interface. Okay, so and one more thing is there, in Java, in Java a class can implement more than one interface at the same time, but however a class cannot extend more than one class at the same time. Okay, it can implement more than one interface at the same time, but it cannot extend more than one class at the same time. Okay, so implementation, it can implement more than one interface. Now import keyword, This is used mostly, to import a particular package. Now, what is a package? In Java, it is basically, like a collection of classes, like we are grouping, similar classes together. So that is where what package is all about. So when you want to import a particular package, we use the import keyword. Then after that we have the instance of. So instance of, that keyword is mainly used to check whether object is it is a instance of a particular class, okay, whether the object it belongs to that particular class or not. So that also we'll be seeing later on. Int keyword it is mostly used to create the integer type variable. So that is also kind of data type, so that we'll be discussing later. Then interface, as I said earlier, in Java we have interface, we have class. So this interface keyword, it is used to create an interface, okay. So it is also going to have the same syntax, interface, then after that interface name, then after that long also, it is also a keyword in Java. So it is also data type. So when we write long, then specified by the variable name, it is going to create a long type of integer. Now we will see later on when we study data types, we will see why there are so many data types and why we need them. Then after that we are going to discuss about native. So native keyword, it is used to create a native method, means the method implementation is provided already in C or C++. So but we want to call that particular method in Java. So in that case we are going to use the native method. So then after that new, it is mostly used to create a object of a particular class, okay. So that is where the new keyword is used, or we can even use it for assigning like arrays and all arrays, like we can use it for that purpose also. So then package. So package, if you talk about package, I already discussed what a package is. So this particular keyword, it is used to create a package, okay. So package, then after that package name, that is how the syntax is going to work. Then private, public, protected, I already discussed this in previous tutorials. So private, it is used to create a private access modifier, public is for public access modifier, and protected is for protected access modifier, that already I discussed. So private data members and private member functions, it is visible only within that particular class where it is defined. Public data members and member functions, they are visible everywhere. And protected, it is in between private and public, it will be visible to its own class and its subclasses. So return this keyword, it is used to return a particular value. So this thing I'll be discussing into more detail when I use the IDE. So when you are returning a particular value, we use this keyword. Short, it is a type of data type, okay. So just like long, int. So static, again we have discussed this static also. So static, it is used for declaring a particular data member or a member function as static, okay. So then after that super is used in inheritance when we want to call the either the parent constructor of the parent class, or we want to call a method or a member function, like method or a variable of the parent class. So that is why super is used. We will look into this more detail when we study the chapter of inheritance. Then switch, again I already discussed the switch case statements. So this particular keyword, it is used to create the switch case block. Synchronized keyword, this particular keyword is always used like in threads and all, this keyword is used. So this also we'll be discussing when we study the thread chapter in detail. Now this keyword, it means that it refers to the instance of the class in which it resides. Like for example, I am writing like a class program, then after that I am writing this keyword, that means it is referring to the instance of that class program. So if it is not clear right now, it will be more clear when I use the IDE. Then throw throw keyword, it is used to throw a particular exception. Like there are different types of exception, and if you want to say that this exception occurred, that exception occurred, then this throw keyword is used. So this is throw keyword. It is mostly used inside the method or inside constructor. Then throws keyword, throws, there is a difference between throw and throws. Don't get confused between both. Throws keyword means we usually use the throws keyword in the method definition itself. Like for example, I'm writing publish static void main, then after that I will write throws exception. So that is the how the syntax is going to work. So I will be explaining in more detail with the help of the IDE. Then try, I already gave a little bit of hint earlier. So try keyword, it is used to create a try catch block. Okay, void, it is a return type, okay, which does not return anything. So this we already saw in public static void main. While also we already saw where while is used. Okay, so while keyword is used to create a while loop. So assert, now this assert keyword is mostly used like when we want to check a particular condition. Like for example, now in India the voting age is like minimum when a person has attained around 18 years of age, then only the person will be eligible to vote. So we can simply write like assert age greater than 18 or less than 18. So if the now in Java by default assertions are not enabled, but however if the assertion is enabled and the assertion check has failed, then what is going to happen? The program JVM, it is going to throw an assertion error. So now these three keywords, they are actually a little bit advanced level. So I will be discussing this in the next slide. So strictfp. So okay, strictfp. Now that we know very well that there are a lot of like different kind of processors are there. 16-bit is there, 32-bit is there, 64-bit is there. Okay, so one thing which you should remember is that floating point floating point calculations, they are always platform dependent. That means in 16-bit if I do as a calculation, floating bit calculation, it is going to be different than what is you're getting the result in 32-bit, and it is going to differ from what you're going to get in 64-bit. Okay, but if you use the strictfp keyword, then even if you vary the processor, the result is going to remain the same. So there are certain rules which we use for strictfp keyword, so we will discuss about them later, because this is a little bit of advanced level concept. So right now we are at the basics. Now transient keyword. So now in Java what happens is that if you don't want to serialize. So what do you mean by serialize? Actually, serialize means you want to store the value of a particular variable inside a file. Then that is what serialization is about. If you don't want to serialize a particular variable, then we use the transient keyword. Okay, so whenever you use the transient keyword, the variable's value, it is not stored in that particular file. And one more thing which you need to remember is that this transient keyword, it cannot be used with methods, it cannot be used with class, it cannot be used with interfaces. It can only be used with variables. Okay, and another thing is that local variables cannot be transient. You cannot declare a local variable as transient. So I will be explaining this with the help of the IDE also. And if you declare static variables as transient, and if you declare final variables as transient, it has no impact actually. So that means there is no point, honestly. That is the meaning of this. So there is no point in declaring a static variable as transient or a final variable as transient, because it does not change the behavior of that particular variable. So the next thing is volatile. So this particular keyword, it is going to be used only with variables again. Okay, so mostly this keyword will be used in the when we study the chapter thread. So okay, so volatile variables, whenever we declare a particular variable as volatile, it simply means that particular variable is thread safe, and it can modify the value of the variable, and that can be used by the different threads. Otherwise, what happens if you don't use volatile keyword? One thread, it is going to keep its own local copy of that particular variable, and another thread, it is also going to keep its own local copy of that particular variable, and then it will lead to data inconsistency. So because of this, and it will create bugs also. So because of this reason, we use the volatile keyword, so that data consistency will be there, and more than one thread, they can access the same variable, and the data will be modified. So if you don't understand this point, don't worry about it. This is a little bit of advanced concept, so we'll be discussing about them when we study the thread chapter. So if you have any questions, then don't hesitate to post in the comment section below. So that is going to be the end of this tutorial. So thank you very much for watching, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. So till then, bye and stay safe.